Well, good morning and welcome to the Greencow Show. I'm Lee, this is Miranda, and we have a special guest today.
Well, good morning,
Hi.
everybody. I'd like to introduce you to Sherrie Howard, and she's here today with us. We're so excited that she's here. Sherrie, can you take a couple of minutes and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Sherrie Howard, and I am a yoga teacher and musician and nature enthusiast. I used to lead hikes and paddleboarding and all of that, but everything to do with mindfulness, music, mantras. I studied yoga at Kripalu Center, have like 1,000 hours of training there, and I studied mantras and studied music in college, and I combine it all together to lead really beautiful experiences, both in classes and programs. And over the past while, I've kind of dove into also supporting chant artists Deva and Miten with the work that they're doing online as well. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for you're such an accomplished person with so many things that you do, and so we're so happy that you're here taking some time for us today. One of the things that I love about your story here is that you have combined so many things that you love into one goal or one career that you're doing now. And I personally have gained a lot of it, as someone that follows you. I've been through like one of your programs, and I've watching you online. I think that by combining all those things that you love, you really help other people. So can you, I think, and you're not the only person, I think, that has multiple passions like that sort of makes sense on there's a universal thread. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you managed to make this great thing that is Sherrie out of all these little things that you like to do?
Well, I mean, it just kind of happened. It's just kind of been, I feel like I've been guided by the universe in many ways. And then I also put a lot of work into what I do, in addition to a lot of trust. And I listen to the guidance from the universe. I dive into what I want to do. So, it's interesting. I've always had this deep love for music. And, I came across yoga when I was in college. I studied music education at Indiana University. I thought I wanted to teach in public schools. and bless all those who do. It's really amazing and challenging work. So I did that for a year. I had a choir 7 through 12, taught for a year. I had 62 7th and 8th graders in the same room, very little to no disciplinary support. It was a really tough year, and I wouldn't change it for the world. But anyway,
that part of your journey is over.
It is. I'm really grateful for it, and I'm grateful that it's over, because it was really hard, but it really led me to the path of where I'm meant to be. So I took yoga in college for a semester, and I fell in love with it. I was like, wow, I'm pretty stressed out. I'll take a yoga class. And, I took a yoga class and like for college credit, and it changed my life. And when I moved out to Massachusetts, I ended up working in the gift shop at this place called Kripalu Center, which is the largest yoga retreat center in North America. And at the same time, I was teaching in public schools. I subbed in the Juvenile Resource Center for a little while, and then I had a legit job teaching, which is the one I was referring to. And at the same time, that was a really stressful year for me. So I decided to take yoga classes, because that was part of my staff benefit at this retreat center. And so I did, and it really, really helped me to get through that year. It really helped me. And, I would watch all these guests come in. I would connect with them because I like connecting with people. And I would see them go through this tremendous transformation going through these yoga teacher trainings. And I made the decision to dive in after that year in schools because I knew I wasn't going back into schools. I didn't know what I was doing exactly. So, I dove in to this training, and it was so transformational. It really changed my life. And, I continued after that to, take trainings, chair yoga, yoga nidra, um, 5 element yoga, like just so many different things, restorative yoga. And so I really ended up getting this well-rounded experience, and then eventually completed the 500 hour. And then when they came out with 1,000 hour, they emailed me and they said, "Hey, Sherrie, do you know you qualify for 1,000 hour certificate?" I was like, "No." "Do you want to go through a ceremony?" "Sure." So because I just really fell in love with this practice. And my first job teaching yoga was at Cranwell, which no longer exists. It's now Miraval. And I love teaching, and I had the opportunity to teach there, and then finally, uh, started teaching at Kripalu and Canyon Ranch, and these are, 3 of the most well-known resorts in the Berkshires, and Kripalu is really well known on a global level, and Canyon Ranch is really well known as well. There's another location in Tucson, but anyway, I ended up teaching at these places and kind of diving into it full time. And, it was great. And then I missed music, and I'm like, "Where's music?" And I started getting really into mantras and combining mantras and music, and eventually ended up recording an album and have recorded a few singles since then. I'm working on something else too. And, it's been this kind of amazing journey. And while I was at Kripalu as well, I love nature. I love hiking. I love paddleboarding. I love kayaking. And I started teaching on the outdoor team and got certified in all those things, kayaking and paddleboarding. And, for me, I just really love a lot of variety in my life. So it's like, you say, "Oh, you do all these things." It's like, I have to, because otherwise I get a little bored too. Yeah.
I love that. I feel like I'm kind of similar in that way. So, and I think you're a little bit like that too, aren't you, Lee?
Maybe a little. You have a beautiful background behind you. Can you tell us about your setting?
Thank you. So I'm in Costa Rica. So long story short, I'm no longer teaching at these places because when the pandemic happened, I went to Costa Rica for a month. And so I came out here with Mark, and we were going to teach a retreat and take a retreat, and we were going to be here March 2nd through 31st of 2020. And then literally everything got shut down. So like airplanes too. So we were stuck here. And I ended up kind of, I lost my jobs because everything closed. I was about to actually take on a full-time job at Miraval. They were going to offer me the job March 16th, and then everything shut down. They emailed me and they said, "Oh, we're closing." And we just had to figure it out. And so, we bounced around Costa Rica for a while. We were up in Junquial, which is like an hour and a half north of where I'm at. And then we came back down to Nosara and stayed in a different house for a couple months. I was, we were going to go back to the States because I was still going to take on this job at Miraval. And so booked 2 flights. They were canceled. And then just everything got a little crazier with protests and just everything, everything that was going on. And winter was coming. And I was like, we looked at each other, why are we going to go back? So we ended up staying here, and this beautiful place, this is where I'm living. So I'm in Nosara, in Esperanza de Nosara. And Mark is a music producer, and he actually has a really amazing, there's an amazing studio here now in this barn. And it's interesting because it didn't make sense to move into this particular space because the internet was really bad and at the time. And there were we didn't really see, like, we didn't know we could use this barn. So it like didn't make sense. And it was interesting because all of a sudden I just knew. It was weird. I had this intuition, like, we have to move into this space. I don't know why, but we have to, And so we ended up moving into this space and ended up being able to use the barn here. They actually just built a real sound booth. So we're able to do recording, and he's able to take clients here, and I'm able to, it's amazing. I'm able to teach from this really beautiful space over here. And I've been teaching online classes and online programs, and I kind of reinvented myself since being here. And I also, the people who we came to take retreat with, Grammy nominated artists, Deva Premal and Miten, they are still here. They got stuck here as well. And I ended up, they needed help. I ended up working for them and learning all this tech stuff, which has helped me to kind of, build what I'm doing right now. So this beautiful space right here, this is the kind of jungle courtyard situation. So there's like the living space. This building's interesting because the owner, she used to ride horses. And so behind me, the building behind me, which this is kind of like a horseshoe-shaped building. It's a hacienda-style horseshoe-shaped building. The space behind me, it's horse stables. So, she used to ride horses. They're empty now. Like there's stuff in them. They use them for storage. But yeah, it's been kind of an amazing and challenging journey too. And I'm so blessed. I can't even, I'm just, I'm so grateful, and I'm so blessed that I'm here because it's really beautiful. And I'm not gonna lie, and I don't miss.
You can tell it from just the little bit that we can see. It's really beautiful. So and everything you're describing sounds even more wonderful than that. So that's amazing. I think there's a lot to unpack in your story that will be and is beneficial to our listeners. First of all, I want to talk about how you went through all of these changes, and now that you're describing them, they sound very fluid. And as you're looking at them from this perspective, and you can kind of see how everything fit together, it's amazing to hear that. But at the time that you were going through all these things, what was the attitude then? What was your attitude? How did you handle all these changes? What were your thoughts at the time as just things were changing and they were unexpected? And how did you handle that?
Oh, man. I feel like I'm still handling it, honestly. I just I had to go into this place of trust because I didn't know what else to do, and, I was also experiencing burnout. So it really, from teaching so much, that, when we got stuck and there was some space, I actually was really grateful for the space. And, there was obviously like some fear and anxiety that was coming up. And then also like gratitude. Like I like to call it, I think the way that I refer to what happened in my story is the blissful paradox. And, I worked through fear. I worked through anxiety. I worked through self-doubt. I, worked through like, oh my goodness, am I going to be able to get unemployment, like how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? When I lost all my jobs, and how am I going to, you know, just like kind of how am I going to sustain myself? And, in yoga, they call this like root chakra stuff, which has to do with like home and grounding and kind of like the basic essentials that you need. So there's all these different chakras that are like they're different energy, wheels in your energy body. And the root chakra stuff is kind of, it's very important because I felt very unstable, but I also felt really grateful to be like walking on the beach, or like, connecting to nature. And it was also exciting because I felt like, with the burnout and everything that I was experiencing, I felt like I kind of like got into a rut. So I was like, wow, this is kind of an exciting new adventure. And I felt like, I don't know, what I felt like happened is that the plane crashed on the way to Costa Rica and that none of this is real. That was like, that was my hypothesis, or like, it was, and I'm still like working through waves of stuff. Like, that hasn't changed, like I still work through waves of self-doubt and, but then, what I do is I notice that these are stories that my mind is telling me that aren't true. And I witness these stories, anytime like I've launched a program or put something out into the world, it's totally scary. Like, and I, there's like, oh my gosh, is anybody going to even sign up? Like, and then I'll work through my own stuff in my mind around it. And then I look at that and I notice that, I've had anxiety since I was a kid. And I look at that and I notice that and I go, Sherrie, like this is not, like, how is this serving your highest good if you're going to go here, And so I let myself feel it for a little while. And then I just keep going. I keep going. And then, because things like rebuilding my website, things like learning how to use a scheduler, things like learning the ins and outs of Zoom, learning like how to market myself and this and that. I've never had to do these things before. It's all brand new. And so there's questions like, am I doing it right? Am I this? Am I that? And it, there's a lot of fear that comes up and a lot of self-doubt that comes out in those areas. When I'm able to get in front of a group of people and teach a class, it's like, I feel so confident in that at this point. But part of life is that we are always students and we are always learning. And even though it's, it was challenging and it's still challenging, now I'm starting to get a little more grounded because this has been like, a couple years now, but I'm still adjusting to some extent. But once I'm able to kind of get beyond like the marketing, the this, the that, okay, I launched the program, which, I've launched a few programs. I kind of stepped it a little bit. I did a 6-week program and I did a 3-month program, which was the one that you took, Miranda. And, I'm offering this 9-month program that I'm in the middle of right now. And it's so amazing and transformational to be able to work with a group of people for this long and to be able to step into what I feel like is my dharma, which is, the teaching and the music and the mantra and the really, being able to impact people's lives, and as someone who works with anxiety myself and who works with self-doubt and who works with anxiety and who works, like in my own being, I feel like, I'm able to really help people through yoga, through music to really work to find peace, in their hearts and their souls and their spirits. And, and part of it is we will, as human beings, we will always experience light and shadow. And it's a matter of, what do you focus on? And there are times when I have gone deep into the shadow. I have felt that shadow. I have gone to those dark places in my mind. But the thing is part of the trick is not staying there and also not ignoring it. So you notice when you're in those dark places, I notice when I'm in those dark places, and then I move the energy somehow, whether it's through chanting, whether it's through yoga, whether it's through, there was a period in my life where I was like, ooh, elliptical, like some people really move that through exercise, whether it's through meditation or breathing or a walk in nature. It's important. Okay, I witness the energy. I witness that my mind is going here. And then what do I do to nurture myself? What do you do to nurture yourself when you're feeling like that?
What about you? What do you think?
I go sailing. This is really interesting stuff for me. Mm-hmm. And I have some questions that are more mechanical in nature. My world revolves a lot around business issues. So you're a U.S. resident, right? How does that work for you? And are you doing any live programs in Costa Rica?
So my business is through the United States.
Okay.
I work online for myself, but my business right now, and I'm, again, this is stuff I'm still figuring out. Like kind of, I went into survival mode. So it's like,
right.
Yeah. So I went back to Massachusetts this past summer and worked there for a little while. My business address is in Lenox. And, I'm not teaching any classes in Nosara, which is where I'm staying. I'm doing work online, for me, and I'm based out of the US. Okay. I'm a tourist here. I'm still on a tourist visa. I have to leave the country every 90 days.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I was going to do a retreat. Mark and I were going to do a retreat in May. And we started planning this over the summer because you have to plan these things like 9 months, 6 months in advance-ish. And then, everything just started, things still weren't particularly stable. And I just looked at it and I went, I don't know if I want to invest in people traveling right now. Like I want to, get there eventually. Like I want to start teaching retreats here again. But right now I'm focused on a couple of other things. Which is right now, I think, building community online, the long-term program I'm doing, and, some music and, just different ways that I can reach people a little farther than just here. But I was teaching a weekly class in the community a while back at Buena Vibra, which no longer exists. They closed. And I might again, but it's a little complicated with getting into town and stuff with a 1999 RAV4 that's in the shop a lot. I learned how to drive stick shift while I was here. It was great.
Nice.
A lot of learning, right?
Yeah.
one of the things that we do here, we're also focused on building online community, and our online community is focused on helping people overcome obstacles to career and business success. And I think so much of your story really speaks to that. And one of the things, a theme that I've noticed, see, this is like, I used to be an English teacher, so I was a teacher too. So of course I'm picking up all the themes. But a theme that I've noticed is, when you run into obstacles, whether it was when you were teaching and you were stressed out and you chose to participate in the yoga, when you got stuck in Costa Rica, when you were experiencing fear and anxiety, you made a very intentional choice to focus on or do the thing that propelled you out of that difficult situation. And I noticed that, you didn't always know where that might lead, but you, but you knew it was out of the darkness, as you would say. So you chose to intentionally follow that path. And I see that as something that is so powerful, and something that I think our audience can really learn from. Because it's not always, we don't always have the choice to do something, amazing or completely different, or go to another part of the world, but we always have the choice to choose the thing that leads us out of that, or to choose to dwell in that dark, stressful situation. And I see that pattern. It just continued to be, more and more of you choosing that path out. And I love too how you talk about how you still deal with these challenges. How every time you do something online, it's scary, how there's lots of new things, because you have the appearance of being someone that's very successful. There's all these lovely photos of you on the rock all over the place online. And you have this, these wonderful albums and programs. And so I think sometimes people look at that and they think, well, this person is somebody that doesn't face any challenges, that they're just a magical person. And, but, you talk about, hey, I do still feel that, but I choose to go the opposite direction. And I think that is really powerful.
Yeah, I agree. I think your story is amazing. And for most of the people who watch our show, watch the replay. And so if you can you post that into this?
Into the comments? Yeah.
Yeah, we want to post your contact information into the comments here, so that when people come in and see the replay, they'll know how to find you. Your story is really great. And the fact that you're dealing with these things all the time, it's encouraging to those people who are trying to get started in something, and they run into roadblocks, and they're not always sure how to deal with that. And listening to how you've done some of these things could be inspirational to them.
So I'd like to, we're running kind of towards the end of our time, but I'd like to ask you one more question, and then I'd love to give you the opportunity to share some music with us if you are prepared to do that. But the question I have is just, if you could, you might not see here, there are people watching, and we also have, this is going to be coming out of the podcast version. So if you had something to say to people who are feeling just very stuck in their career or business, they're feeling burned out or stressed out, or just like they're very unhappy with what they're doing as far as making a living, what would be your one piece of advice, your one kind of 30-second sharing of wisdom for those people?
Follow your heart and trust. And all the excuses that your mind makes up of why you can't do that, just step beyond that. And that's hard. Trust, follow your heart, Sometimes even taking risks is important. The universe will, the universe will guide you.
And that certainly has been your experience. And I love that.
And I've known you since middle school, Miranda.
Let's please not share any of those stories.
No, I'm not going to share any of those stories. But what I was saying is it's been amazing to see your transformation as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I've certainly gained a lot of knowledge and wisdom from what you've put out on your programs and your online presence. So I appreciate that. All right. Well, do you have some music you'd like to share with us today?
Yeah, I do. I could either play just a little bit of the track that I'm working on right now, or I could do something live. I could do live a little bit of the track that I'm working on, but it's not really the track. It's just the chant.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm a big fan of live. Okay. If you're comfortable with it, I like live.
So the mantra is Om Lakshmi Ganapataye Namaha, and that's a Sanskrit mantra. Sanskrit's a 5,000-year-old language that has really resonant, powerful, vibrational energy. And the meaning of this mantra, basically, it brings about the energy of removing the obstacles toward abundance. So when you chant this mantra, it helps to bring that energy in your life. And there have been amazing times when I've chanted mantras. That's another thing to do is chant, chant the energies that you want to bring in, state the affirmations that you want to bring in, even if you don't believe it, say them over and over again. This one's in Sanskrit. Om Lakshmi Ganapataye Namaha. 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 Om Om Lakshmi Ganapataye Namah. Om Lakshmi Ganapataye Namah. Om Lakshmi Ganapataye
Thank you for that.
That was wonderful.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me on your show.
What is the instrument that you were playing?
This is a Shruti box. It so this is an Indian instrument, and it's actually not my Shruti box. Someone actually left it here and is in Canada and needed a place to store the Shruti box and is not sure. She's not sure when she's coming back. So
Yes.
so I have this Shruti box here, and I've been really connecting with it, and it's interesting because you pump the bellows here, and then the sound comes out these holes. And so this is like a drone instrument. Pretty much anybody can play this one. You do not have to be musical to play a Shruti box. Just, have to know how to like open up this. So basically I have right now an open C chord, so C and a G playing. So see these little things down here? This is kind of like, I'll bring all of them down so you can kind of get the gist of it a little better. This is kind of like notes on a piano or a keyboard. That's how you know what they are. So like these up here, these are like the black notes, and these are like the white notes. It's because there's 2 black notes and then 3 black notes, and there's all the white notes down here. So that's how you know what notes these are. So like this is a C, and then this is a G, and then this is a C. So that's how I got that pitch here. And so then it creates what I'm creating right now is an open 5th chord with C and G and C.
It's really cool that there's an instrument like that you don't have to be musical to play. I think a lot of people would probably enjoy that. People who maybe want to be but aren't. So I think that's pretty cool. Well, Sherrie, thank you so much for being on our show today. I think that the information and your experiences have something that will really benefit our listeners. So I really appreciate you taking the time for us. I'm going to put your website on our video here as well, so people can connect with you in that way. And then I did put all of your contact information in the description today. So I want to encourage our viewers and listeners to reach out to Sherrie. She has some wonderful programs that you can go through. And she's also one of those people that's just very positive and inspirational to follow online. We talk a lot about searching, not scrolling, and how being on social media can be really beneficial to you, but only if you do it in the right way. And so one of the right ways or positive ways to use social media is to search for people that you know are positive and will have a positive message, rather than scrolling through all of the junk. And so she's one of those people that's definitely search worthy. And so I highly recommend following Sherrie on social media.
Great. So thank you so much for being here today. And to everyone who's watching this, please reach out to Sherrie. She's one of those people who is a light and spreads her light, and it's a wonderful thing.
Okay.
Okay, well, everybody, do something nice for somebody else today, and a whole bunch of people, if you have the resources to do that, be that person who's a light in the world, who's a source of hope and love and caring and all the things that Sherrie sends out. Those are good things to do. We will see you again on Wednesday, and make this a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.